Welcome to Grounded Talks with Sam. I'm Sam Perkins, licensed therapist and lover in coffee, and someone who believes the best conversations happen when we slow down long enough to get grounded. Each week, we'll pour a fresh cup and dig into the ideas that shape how we think, feel, and show up, from mental health to real life balance. So grab your mug, take a deep breath, and let's get grounded. Hey y'all, I am so excited. I'm excited because this is episode 1 of Grounded Talks. I don't know where you're joining me from. I'm not sure if you're on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Music, wherever you are. Thank you for showing up. You'll notice some themes. Every episode will start with me talking about coffee. I love coffee. Today, I'm actually drinking. I went to a local coffee shop, and it's called Eda Coffee, and I just wanted something simple. I just got me a lavender honey latte today. Something chill, one of my favorite lattes. And so, like always, let's take our first sip together. I'm not sure if you're a coffee lover, but if you aren't, that's okay. If you like tea, drink your tea. Matcha, drink your matcha. But either way, we're going to join together. We're going to be talking through so many concepts and content on mental health, how it shows up in our life. And I'm just glad that you decided to take a moment with me. I'm going to keep all of these between 20 and 30 minutes where we'll just talk about life. And so without further ado, let's join into this topic. If you know me, I love getting prepared for the new year. I love talking about what it takes to set up the new year. And, whether you're watching this in January, into January, into February, whenever you're watching it, I want you to just listen to and start thinking about this year. Every year, every January, we promise ourselves a new life, new habits, new body, new mindset, new everything. And by the end of the month, reality shows up. Stress, work, life happens. And it's funny because January motivation be so loud. And then you get to February or March and life gets louder. And so I want to say this. The problem isn't discipline. The problem is actually structure. The problem actually is strategy. And the problem is, how do we define change? Here's the thing. Everybody makes resolutions. But resolutions are often built on hype. Let's keep it real. It's the beginning of the year. I'm hyped up. You know what it's like to get hyped up. But when you think about it, a commitment you make is built on identity, it's built on values, and it's built on behavior. And what's going to happen today? We're going to actually talk about what resolutions do and look like versus when you make a commitment and you decide to do that, what it does. We're going to give you the differences between rigid goals and guided values. We're going to talk through how commitment outperforms motivation. We're going to set the tone for the rest of your year 2026 with a new year, new me mindset being thrown out the door and the thought of commitment to your values, identity, and goals coming into your door. And we're going to find a way to do that. We're actually going to, I'm going to help you learn how to use maybe 1 or 2 words to kind of set the view and the foundation for your year. So let's dive into this. Here is the clinical truth. Most resolutions fail because they're outcome driven. And actually, most of them fail by mid-January. Most resolutions, it is over by mid-January. It was outcome driven. It was emotional. It was disconnected from your identity. It had no support system. And you're wondering why it didn't work. And the truth is, it didn't work because you were not set up. You put so much pressure to start this, but you had nothing in place to sustain this. And there's so much evidence about it, but here are two things I want you to catch. One, evidence shows that when you have something internal pushing you, you do better than all the external factors. What's internal? What you value. Things that mean something to you and your identity. What's external? Things that you're doing because it was shame and somebody said something to you. Something outside of you is pressuring you to do this so you don't complete it. Or it's 2026. You on Instagram or TikTok or one of these social media platforms, and you have gotten into a mindset of comparison. The thief of joy. Here's what I want you to say. If you save a phrase today, here's one of my first phrases I want you to say if you're writing notes. People stick with change when it's connected to who they are, not just what they want. Hold on to that. I want you to realize that resolutions are fear-driven, comparison-driven, guilt-driven. But when you're committed to something intrinsic, it's value-driven, identity-driven, purpose-driven. And that's where commitment changes everything. That word, it's going to show up a lot today. Commitment changes everything. When you hear the word commitment, I know we don't necessarily like the word commitment in the way, really in the way we live in society today. It might be considered like a dirty word today, because when you commit, most people when they commit to something, they haven't been successful in it. I mean, you think about it. You get married, and so many people want to be married. They're committed to it, but we have a high fail rate when it comes to marriage. That word commitment and what it embodies hasn't held true. But I want to restore and help you stay grounded in the word. Let me give you a definition that will help you when you think about commitment. The definition for commitment is feeling dedication and loyalty to a cause, activity, job. But let's dive deeper into that, right? Because when it's about you, it's a sense of obligation to self. Oh, that's a good one. That's a word. It's an obligation to yourself. When you make a commitment, you're going to be grounded in that. Let me help you with the differences and really three main differences when it comes to resolutions versus commitment. I'm going to start with resolutions are rigid. Commitment is rooted. Resolutions are often left with very shallow thinking, nothing really attached to it. So it'll be something like, I'm going to hit the gym 6 days. There's no how, there's no why, there's no framework for that. And so we want to, when we commit to something, I want you to have a line that grounds you. I'm committed to being a person who prioritizes my health. And let's see if we can attach a why to it so you can be rooted in it. And that's major. The second is resolutions focus on outcomes. Commitments focus on identity. This is once again resolution. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. Commitment. I'm going to be someone who respects their body. And I know I'm using the gym focusing, but I love health, specifically physical health, because I recognize it's attached to your mental health. Now I'm going to do an episode on that one day. I think it's important to realize, number 3, resolutions depend on motivation. Commitment builds systems. If you watch sports events or anything like that, you'll notice that somebody can get you hyped. I mean, you ever been there? Somebody talking about getting ready for a game. If you're an athlete, you know this like to hear a get hype speech. For me, it was football before a football game, or my coach right before a track meet, and they would hype me up. But what happens when you got hyped up and now you're down 21-0? There's a choice to make. Do you quit, or do you find another way to restart, reset, get yourself going? This is how you get the comeback. The comeback. We love a comeback. Large leads, dwindled down comebacks. We love that. It's inspirational. It's exciting. But what does that feel like when it's in your life? How do you have a comeback story in your year? You started off January rough. How do you have a comeback story to fit and finish 2026 strong? And that's by building systems. This is important. You'll hear me say things, well, if X happens, then what do you do with Y? What do you do? If X happens, then I'll do this. You know what? I had a goal. My goal was to work out 4 or 5 times a week. I had a plan for it. But sometimes my days get crazy. So if I didn't finish, if I didn't get to that workout in the morning like I wanted to, my goal was 6 a.m. That's okay. I'm gonna guarantee that I'm gonna get a walk in. Maybe it's an evening walk. I'm gonna always do that. Maybe it was I wanted to follow a structure, and every Sunday I wanted to sit down. I wanted to write out my week because I have horrible time management, and I wanted to tighten up on that. But that didn't happen on Sunday. I got backed up, got busy. I'm gonna give myself some grace, and maybe though it's Tuesday, I notice I'm feeling off. I'm gonna just jump in the moment I have on Tuesday and set my rest of my week up better. I'll give an example of my life. Every year we get to the end of the year and I do something that's really impactful. I get to the end of December and I make it a point to sit down on December 31st. I sit down with myself. Maybe sometimes I use the whiteboard. Sometimes I'm using my iPad or a journal. Whatever I use, I'm going to sit down and I begin to map out my year. Take the time to go, what is this year going to be about? And one of the ways I do that is I think about my past, I look back over that, and I make a decision. But before I talk about looking back, let's just talk about setting the tone. So for 2026, I began to think, what do I want to accomplish? I make it practical. I choose what's important to me, what I value. I think about the behaviors I want to attach it to. I think the systems that need to be put in place. And if I can do that, I know I could be super successful. So what does that look like when you say, like, you put them in that order? Well, maybe I recognize that I need to be more disciplined. And so I'm going to use that word discipline to be grounded in. And my commitment to myself is I'm going to live a life this year that is going to be more disciplined. And then I find the behaviors that maybe I need more discipline in. Maybe it was the gym. Maybe it was meal prep. Maybe it was reading, studying, whatever that may be. And then I start mapping out, what does that look like? All right, this is my goal. So maybe my goal is I'm going to work out this many times this week. I'm going to meal prep on Sundays. I'm going to study during these hours. But what happens when I miss? When I miss, here's my main restructure, reframe, because it's part of my system. If I miss, I'll return back to it the next day. I'll do something, a shorter version. So maybe I didn't get a full workout in this morning. I'm going to get something in the afternoon that's a little shorter, but I'm going to get some movement done. Maybe I didn't meal prep on Sunday, but I'm going to find a way to meal prep or do some things that'll be healthier for me as soon as I can Monday, Tuesday. This is a sustainable change. We're looking for consistency, flexibility, and the art of recovery, not perfection. So here I gave you the thing. I started with the word discipline. I gave you an example of my call to action to you today, which is pick a word. And part of picking a word, I gave you a glimpse of this, is looking back at your previous year. You know how the previous year went. Was it successful? Did you meet your goals? Did you meet your task? Do you feel great about what you accomplished? And now you need to sit and meditate and think on and ponder, what will the next year be about? And for me, I do this every year. Every December 31st, I come up with a word, sometimes 2. And I go, what is this year going to be about? What do I want to accomplish? how am I going to accomplish it? And as I'm sitting here, you know what? I'm going to actually give an example for what my goals were this year. I originally was going to keep it to self, but I'm going to share a little bit because I think it's going to be beneficial. I'll give you examples, um, like discipline, peace, and integrity. But for me, two things stuck out to me this year: discipline and leadership. And for me, when I was mapping this out, I actually wrote, what does discipline actually mean and why? And I attached that definition, I wrote it out, and I gave myself a framework for why I needed to be more disciplined going into 2026. The second word was leadership. And it was like, okay, what does that mean to me and why? And then my year was broken up into these two principles. So, what was the discipline principle that I had, and how did I want to focus on? So, I took it into my career. How am I going to use this word discipline? What was in my career that I want to be more disciplined in? The second word, leadership. What about my career that I want to do better in as far as leadership? I did that for my career. I did that for my personal health. How can I be more disciplined in my health this year? And what does health look like from a leadership perspective this year? I did that from a faith perspective. As a person who has a belief, and that is a Christian. I'm not sure I even shared that, but if you're listening, as a Christian, I I have a principle in my faith. So what does that look like discipline wise, and how do I activate that leadership wise? And lastly, I did it for me in my personal goals, personal dreams, and aspirations. Well, what do I need to get disciplined in this year? And what does leading myself look like in my personal? And I wanted to share that because that is how I grounded myself. And it gave me action items. And it wasn't just these quick things. It took me several hours to walk through each one of these categories. But several hours were worth it when I thought about this is going to be something I'm going to stand on for the entire year of 2026. Also, what's going to help if you've never done this before is uh, think about three layers. Think about an identity statement, think about a behavior thought, and then think about how you can reset when it's off. Those three things will help as you're thinking about this over and over, because now you have the statement. I'm going over what I want to, I've identified what I want my identity to look like. I then have the behavior, and then here are my reset rules if things happen. Life starts happening to me, it goes wrong. What will I do? So as we wrap up, let me say this. I'm not sitting here trying to bash people who make resolutions. I'm just trying to help you and give you some guidance for why they can sometimes be detrimental to your year, why sometimes they don't work, why they bring pressure to you. What is a better thought and a better framework is actually dedicating yourself to something you could be committed to. We commit to so many things or want to, and it's sometimes scary. But that word commitment is built on things that you value, things that you can be rooted in, and that actually helps it stick. I want to change what you think about commitment. I want you to realize that commitment is about you, not outside things. What you commit yourself to, what you hold yourself accountable to, what you dedicate yourself to is important. And so I don't want this just to be a motivational talk. I want you to set systems that stay. I don't want your feelings to fluctuate. I want your identity to remain. Change doesn't stick because you want it. It sticks because you commit to who you're becoming. So you don't need a new year. You don't. You need a real commitment. Thanks for sipping with me on Grounded Talk. Stay present, stay grounded, and keep growing in how you show up for yourself and the people you love. See you next time. I'm Sam Perkins.